Her maiden name remains unknown, but we know she was born in North Carolina to a Christian family who attended services at Mount Zion Church every Sunday. According to some residents of Alexis Lucia Road in Stanley, a small town in Gaston County where everyone knew one another, Crystal grew up surrounded by a tight-knit community. She was raised with her parents and at least one sister. These are the scant details we have about her early life. From a young age, Crystal exhibited a keen interest in music, which led her to attend various concerts starting at the age of 13. Upon reaching adulthood, she chose to relocate to Hawaii, where she began to study guitar and started writing and composing her first songs, as detailed in a career review published on the River Nation website, which is dedicated to supporting artists in the music industry. Most of the lyrics in her songs blend personal experiences with reflections on both real and spiritual aspects of life. With a raspy, whispery voice, her style is described by the site as eccentric and extravagant. Additional information about her artistic career reveals that while she was not widely famous, she led her own musical group, the Crystal Gambino Band, which specialized in American music and alternative rock. Her repertoire included over 250 songs. Little is known about her personal life before she established her own household. Crystal married Giovanni James Gambino, commonly known as Gio. According to reviews, Gio was born on July 3, 1975, in Brooklyn, New York, to James and Zoe Stocks. For years, Gio claimed to be the grandson of Carlo Gambino, one of the most notorious and powerful mob bosses in New York during the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. In fact, it is believed that the character in the famous film The Godfather was largely inspired by Carlo Gambino. However, public records indicate no direct family connection between Gio and Carlo Gambino. Regardless of this claim, Gio was an active and prominent member of the local Republican Party. At the end of 2015 and the beginning of 2016, he played a leading role in the campaign of a party candidate for Congress. He was also involved in a wine business, volunteered with various organizations, and occasionally attended Mount Zion Baptist Church, where he was well regarded. The couple resided in a charming 3-bedroom house built by Crystal's great-grandfather, located in a small community of about 100 residents where everyone knew one another. In the small community, where the local amenities included a post office, a couple of mechanic shops, and 2 convenience stores for daily essentials, the exact date of Crystal and Gio's marriage remains unknown. However, it is evident that they had been married for some time and had a daughter together. Reports reveal significant turbulence in the couple's relationship. In 2009, Crystal sought a temporary restraining order against her husband and later filed for divorce, requesting custody and support for their daughter. This case, however, was eventually dismissed. Additionally, the couple experienced financial difficulties and filed for bankruptcy, leading to the foreclosure of their home. An article in the Island Packet Media highlights that according to a federal bankruptcy filing in 2011, Gio had been involved in a fraudulent scheme against the Bank of Granite a decade earlier, amounting to approximately $60,000. Gio and his associates had forged documents to make one of them appear wealthy enough to secure a loan intended to start the Gambino New York deli and specialty foods business. Richard Allen May, a car salesman who was allegedly defrauded by the scheme, had guaranteed the loan. Once the money was granted, Gio and his partners misappropriated it, never using it for its intended purpose. The large sum was reportedly divided into several checks and transfers, with funds distributed among Gio, Crystal, and another family member. This fraudulent activity led to a lawsuit from the bank and contributed to the Gambino's bankruptcy the following year. The records of the foreclosure proceedings also mention a religious and charitable nonprofit organization founded by Gio, as well as an entertainment company. Additionally, there was a business involved in the bank fraud called Gambino New York Deli and Specialty Foods LLC, along with another registered as Gambino One Imports. News reports indicate that Gio occasionally used 2 other aliases, Demetrius Stokes and Demetrius Hilliard. Under each identity, he was registered as a voter with the North Carolina Election Board. All 3 names are associated with the same driver's license number issued in the coastal U.S. state. Over the past 15 years, Crystal's driving record included 2 convictions for driving under the influence of alcohol. In 2012, Crystal also filed a lawsuit against Gio for threats, but this charge was dismissed, as was the restraining order she sought in 2009. During this period, some family members alleged that Gio was attempting to isolate Crystal from her family. In a parallel narrative, another couple faced their own challenges. Stepanel Sanchez and Geoffrey Glenn Gilland were dealing with their issues. Stepan was born on January 22, 1983, in Pasadena, Texas, and was known for her beauty and cheerful demeanor, particularly with her brother Ross. As she grew up, she developed a deep love for animals, especially horses, which she learned to ride at a young age. She also had a fascination with dogs. Stepan's life was tumultuous, marked by significant highs and lows. She struggled with addiction from a young age, which began during her adolescence. Although she managed to stay clean for periods, she experienced relapses before ultimately seeking detox. Throughout these struggles, she frequently returned to her native Texas, where she received support from her loved ones, particularly her father, James Heim. At around 17 years old, Stepan became pregnant and gave birth to a daughter named Sydney, who was raised by the Heim family from the start. James Heim noted that once she came of age, Stepan enlisted in the country's armed forces, serving from 2007 to 2009. It was during her time in the military that Stepan met her first husband, another military officer. Unfortunately, their relationship did not endure. By early 2016, at the age of 33, Stepan had been arrested for possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. She had discussed plans with her father to move back in with him in about 3 weeks. At that time, Stepan was involved with a 39-year-old man named Geoffrey Gilliland, born February 9, 1977. Little information is available about Geoffrey's life, except that his relationship with Stepan had been ongoing for some time and appeared to be stable. However, there was speculation about how they supported themselves. According to press reports, neither Stepan nor Geoffrey was known to have employment, and they were living in a low-cost motel called Charlotte. There were rumors suggesting that they might have been involved in drug dealing and sex work, but no concrete evidence supported these claims. On Monday, February 29, 2016, around 8 p.m., local police received an emergency call at 911. The call was made by the husband of Crystal's sister, who was visibly distraught and had arrived at his residence to report what had occurred. The brother-in-law offered to provide the police with the keys to the house where the incident presumably took place. Some newspaper reports indicate that the man stopped in front of the house without entering. When the police arrived, he handed over the keys and remained outside. Paramedics were also present at the scene, anticipating that there might be individuals in need of medical attention, but unfortunately, no one survived. The scene that the authorities encountered was almost surreal. In the Gambino couple's bedroom, Gio and Geoffrey were found naked on the floor, their bodies riddled with numerous gunshot wounds, clearly lifeless. During the search of the home, officers discovered a third victim, Stephanie. She was also found unclothed, with projectile injuries, and was clumsily hidden beneath a pile of ashes, debris, and a Christmas tree. In the washing machine, investigators found the blood-stained sheets from the crime scene. As the investigation continued at the Gambino residence, police officers proceeded to Crystal's home, where they located and apprehended her without resistance. Crystal did not deny her involvement in the triple homicide and was presented in court the following day, facing 3 counts of murder. She was subsequently held in Gaston County Jail without bail. Further investigation revealed that Gio had used an internet site to arrange a swingers date, which was responded to by Stephanie and Geoffrey. Swingers or liberal couples are individuals who, while in a committed relationship, agree to explore romantic or sexual experiences with other people. The fundamental rule of such arrangements is that all parties involved must consent and be aware of the situation. With mutual consent and communication established, Gio arranged a meeting for a threesome on a day when his wife was out of town. Some media reports suggest that payment for the couple's services was to be made with narcotics. However, Crystal returned earlier than planned, and the discovery of what was happening in her bed drove her to extreme violence. According to forensic studies, 15 shots were fired at the 3 victims. The number of projectiles suggested that Crystal had even reloaded the weapon, which some sources describe as a .44 caliber pistol, while others refer to it as a .38 caliber. Regardless of the specific type, the consequences were severe. The sources do not clarify to whom the weapon belonged. Investigators also noted that Crystal's initial impulse was to cover up the crime, but something prompted her to abandon that plan. She then went to pick up her 9-year-old daughter from school and later to her family's home, where she confessed her actions. She was subsequently arrested. According to statements made to the Gaston Gazette, the Gaston County Police captain summarized the incident as involving individuals who met, interacted, and then, when the third party was dissatisfied, took drastic action. The small local community, where crime was very rare, was deeply shocked by the incident. Opinions among those who knew the family varied significantly, as reported by several journalists who covered the scandalous case. In the wake of the scandalous case, a neighbor who requested anonymity revealed that she had ceased communication with Crystal in 2015 after a heated argument in which Crystal pointed a gun at her. Although the neighbor did not believe Crystal was prepared to shoot, she described Crystal as aggressive and possessing violent tendencies. Nonetheless, it appears that the majority of residents were deeply shocked by the events. David Robinson, a local business owner who had known Crystal since birth, described the family as normal people and expressed disbelief over the tragedy. He noted that Gio had run a wholesale wine business and always appeared to be a sensible man. Another neighbor characterized Crystal as a very kind and pleasant woman, with whom she frequently enjoyed coffee and conversations on the porch. Conversely, a cousin of Gio, Bob Hager, mentioned in an interview that Gio had expressed concern about Crystal's deteriorating mental health and had even requested prayers for her. This concern seems to have been justified, as several case reports included documentation from a psychiatrist who had expressed worry about Crystal's mental state, indicating that she was at risk of a breakdown. The truth is that achieving justice in this case was relatively straightforward because the perpetrator never attempted to deny her responsibility. Consequently, a deal was quickly reached with the prosecution to expedite the trial process and deliver a verdict. The hearing determining Crystal Lee Gambino's fate took place a year later, on Monday, March 6, 2017, at the Gaston County Superior Court. As agreed, Crystal pleaded guilty to 1 count of involuntary manslaughter for the death of her husband, Giovanni Gambino, and 2 counts of second-degree murder for the deaths of Geoffrey Glenn Gilliland and Stephanie Ellen Sanchez. At the hearing, family members of Stephanie and Geoffrey addressed the defendant and stood before her holding pictures of their loved ones, whose lives she had ended in a fit of rage without even knowing them. When the judge gave Crystal the opportunity to speak, the magistrate ultimately pronounced her verdict, sentencing Crystal to between 23 and 29 years in prison for the murder charges and between 6 and 8 years for the manslaughter charge. Crystal received a sentence of 8 years for manslaughter to be served consecutively. This was certainly not the end for the families of the victims. James Heim, Stephanie's father, expressed his reaction, and the last information we have about Crystal's situation is that she is currently serving her sentence at Anson Correctional Institution in Polkton, North Carolina. Perhaps due to the small-town nature of this event, further details remain scarce, and many questions about what truly transpired are unresolved. Crystal's mental health was evaluated after her arrest, and although it was reported that she participated in similar group activities in the past, this specific claim could not be confirmed. The only certainty is that 3 lives were lost in a matter of seconds, one by choice and the other 2, likely, by the promise of narcotics due to their severe substance dependency issues. Despite any feelings of anger, disappointment, or grief, nothing can justify the actions of this 43-year-old woman. By the time Crystal completes her sentence, 3 decades will have passed, leaving Gio and Crystal's daughter effectively orphaned. What are your thoughts on this case? Please leave your comments. And, well, dear audience, this concludes another episode. What do you think about today's case? We would greatly appreciate reading your comments, as your opinions on these cases are very important to us. Please remember to express your thoughts with the utmost respect for both the victims and other viewers, as well as for us who are reading them. Before you go, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to share this video if you think someone you know might be interested. We'll see you next time with another criminal investigation. Goodbye.